I remember when this game was first shown off. Barely anybody knew what it was. All we had to go off of was maybe it was like PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. But that idea alone, that's a lot to hope for, and that definitely wasn't going to be the case. Especially not after we saw that shit. Like, Jesus Christ.
Who the hell are you guys?
As you can probably tell from the thumbnail and title, we're talking about Avengers. Marvel's Avengers. The new big-budget AAA game developed by Crystal Dynamics, who are mostly known for the Tomb Raider series, and known a little less for creating Kjackice. Yeah, that Kjackice. Now, to give a little bit of a heads up for the rest of this video, all the footage that I recorded was recorded from my PlayStation 4. If there's one thing, if not anything, I would want you to get from the first couple of minutes of this review, is that the PlayStation 4 version of this game is damn near unplayable. If you plan on buying this game, please buy it on literally anything else. From what I know, the PlayStation Pro version of the game runs pretty well, but I don't know how many people are willing to trade their PlayStation 4 for a PlayStation Pro just to play Avengers. Because I desperately wanted to make a fair review of this game, I purchased the game on PlayStation and then bought it again on PC because of those performance issues. My review was going to be just the most harsh, unfair thing possible, just because I was tired of dealing with these issues. But to be fair, the fact that I spent another $70 on a game I already owned just to be able to play it goes to show that this is probably going to be a somewhat negative review. I only know a few channels centered around gaming and new releases that covered all versions of the game, and those channels said basically what I said a second ago. It runs well on the PlayStation Pro. I haven't seen very much about the PC version of the game besides the beta footage. Because of a direct lack of a comparison, I had to do it myself, just to confirm a few things. But with that little heads up out of the way, we can get into the actual review of the game. Because this game was made with the MCU in mind, a lot of character dynamics mirror that of their cinematic versions. So you're essentially watching an alternate timeline animated movie, vaguely based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. To strictly talk about the story and quality of the story in simple terms, it's really good. It's actually genuinely entertaining and sweet at times. If I was to summarize the story in an elevator pitch, I would say a teenage superfan gets powers and is adopted by Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers. But because the Avengers are a dysfunctional family, she has to use her inspirational sweet nature to bring them back together and remind them that they're all still her heroes. Definitely not groundbreaking or thought-provoking story-wise, it is literally a video game version of the MCU's story structure. If you read comic books, you can probably expect most of what's going to happen seconds before they even begin to foreshadow it. It doesn't do anything more than it has to, and personally, I like that. Not every game's story has to be this big art piece. Sometimes games can just be entertaining for the sake of entertainment. Like I said earlier, most people didn't really know what to expect from this game, especially not what the interviews gaming outlets were doing. Some outlets were stating that this would be an always online multiplayer live service kind of game, and others were basically saying it's watered down PS4 Spider-Man. It's not very much information and it's extremely vague ideas. Well, now that people are capable of playing it, I can safely say the general consensus of it being Destiny combined with Marvel Ultimate Alliance is pretty accurate. This game is meant to be grinded out, and it is meant to take up all your time. They recently outlined the future of this game's content, announcing new characters, daily missions for legendary gear, and a ton of cosmetics. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics want this game to be something players can turn their brain off and enjoy. But what does that say about the overall quality of the gameplay and all of its features? Well, I don't know what it says about any of that, but I've played it and the game's pretty alright. It plays like your standard post-Arkham action game. Characters have universal controls and unique controls. Universal controls being light attack, heavy attack, dodge, and a projectile button. Unique controls are characters' intrinsic abilities and special moves. For example, Ms. Marvel's intrinsic ability is essentially auto-dodging any move that's not a heavy attack. Captain America's intrinsic ability is being able to block attacks and parry them if you press block just before they land. While the intrinsic abilities are supposed to be unique to that character's skill set, there's a surprising amount of overlay between them. For example, the Incredible Hulk essentially has the ability to buff his attacks, and Thor does the same thing. Not really unique if they do the same thing. This will most likely be fixed, or I guess corrected, later down the line when there are more characters to play than the current 6 that are in the game right now, but for now it is kind of a nitpick. Now the special moves are pretty self-explanatory. You've got your special move 1, 2, and your ultimate ability. That's basically all the core gameplay mechanics of controlling your characters. Does it feel good to play? Yes. Surprisingly good. The game doesn't allow you to play all the characters from the start if you're doing the story mode. So you unlock the characters one by one, and each time you get a new character, you have new challenges, and you have to level them up and find new gear for them. Remember, this game is meant to be grinded out, so that's normal. Out of all the characters you can play, the best feeling ones are Iron Man, Ms. Marvel, and Captain America. Iron Man just feels good to play. He's got a lot of ranged attacks, and his projectiles do big damage. And using the Unibeam is probably one of the more satisfying attacks in this game. Ms. Marvel is actually really fun, even though she's kind of just an AoE, big crowd-controlling support type character. And Captain America's just good. He's fun. Some characters just don't feel fun though, and it sucks because you have to play these characters to do their legendary missions for special costumes and gear. You have to play them. So enjoy mindlessly mashing buttons on Hulk for 30 minutes just to get a new set of purple underwear. Alright, I've talked about characters enough. Time to talk about the mission structure and how the game really plays. So, like I said earlier, this is a mix between Destiny and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. To actually play missions, you have to go to a hub/social hub, enter the war table, and select the area that has the thing you need to do. These areas are kind of like mini open world instances that have quests and challenges scattered across the map. If you've played Destiny before, you know exactly what I'm saying. This, in my opinion, is a fine way of doing things. I just wish that I could do it from the menu and they didn't force me to walk around a hub world. A good example of this is the fact that there's a cosmetic vendor, a gear vendor, and a materials vendor for each social hub. From what I've played, there are 2 of them. You have to walk around these areas to talk to these NPCs, to interact with these menus essentially. And there's no fast traveling from point to point in a hub world. As far as I know, you have to walk. Luckily, this is one of those things that they can just patch in the future. That's kind of the weird thing right now. Because this game is a live service, any issues that you might think are surface level are totally susceptible to being changed in the future. I know I've brought up Destiny a lot in this Marvel's Avengers review, but I do it for a reason. Destiny 1 and 2 were vastly improved years after their initial release. Who says the same thing can't happen for this game? Oh, wait. The developers and publisher are the ones who say that can't happen. That's up to them. Another 50-50 situation. It's ironic because I'm talking about Marvel. Last time I thought about Marvel vs. Capcom was a while ago. What was the last game that they released? Oh yeah, I remember. It was Infinite. Yeah, Infinite was a disaster because the development was rushed by Disney and Capcom didn't have time to make the game they really wanted to make, so we ended up getting a kind of playable game that looked like trash because it was based on a movie and not the comic books. Wait a minute, I'm getting deja vu for this. Oh no. Alright, sarcastic jokes aside, this game does look really good. Like I said before, they went with a realistic art style that resembles the MCU. Though I am not a fan of realism in my video games, I will admit that it looks good. They definitely made improvements since the initial trailer where everybody saw knockoff Scarlett Johansson and just started roasting it. Unfortunately, because I'm not a fan of realism in video games, I have very little positive to say about this game's art style choices or its graphical fidelity. One of the main reasons why it runs so poorly on PlayStation is because of this art style choice. The game has some amazing character models, and without a doubt it has an extremely good lighting system and particle effects. But I mean, that's kind of all I can say about it. I don't too much care about realistic graphics. I mean, you're looking at footage of it right now. You can tell for yourself whether or not you like the way this game looks. Oh, and it also has a big cinematic soundtrack that I also don't care about. Moving on to my final thoughts. This game is extremely polarizing for a reason. It's full of microtransactions, it's touted to be a live service that'll evolve over time, and it barely functions on the console that provides the most content. These things range from horrible to promises that have yet to be fulfilled. So it makes it very hard to recommend this game to anyone in its current state. Marvel superfans are probably going to be more happy with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 than they would playing this. And almost everyone has a Nintendo Switch, so it's a totally plausible recommendation over this. If you're one of the lucky people who has a mid-end to high-end gaming PC, you can buy this on PC, but you'd be missing out on a lot of exclusive content that the PlayStation version has to offer, like Spider-Man. But if you get the PlayStation version, you are essentially buying the inferior version in terms of performance. I don't think Spider-Man is worth dropping to 10 frames the moment more than 4 people are on screen, but Sony sure thought it was, and they landed that deal. Despite all my negativity towards this game, I did enjoy playing it, and I'm still enjoying playing it. I have yet to really sit down and play the multiplayer, but I'm sure it'll be a fun experience with friends. You'll either like this game despite all of its issues and hope for the best in the future, or hate this game and ask for a refund within the first 3 hours. At the moment, there are 2 ways of thinking about this game, and it's the optimistic way and the pessimistic way. We got a half-finished game, they ripped us off. Or, we got a kind of finished game, but they plan on adding a lot of updates, so I guess it's okay. At the end of the day, both parties essentially want this game to be better. It's just one is enjoying it for what it is right now, and the other can't enjoy it for what it is. I struggled through the worst of playing it on PlayStation. But now that I'm playing it on PC, I'm having a lot more fun. This game is definitely not for everyone. I would not recommend buying this game if you're already cautious. Wait until it receives some sizable updates and improvements. if you plan on buying it at all. If you're not cautious, a super Marvel fan, or you're just genuinely interested in this game, buy it on PC. Or if you have a PlayStation Pro, go ahead, buy it on PlayStation. Again, if you have a PlayStation Pro, do not buy the original PS4 version of this game. The performance on the original version is so bad that it is literally like throwing your money in a fire. And my final thought, after getting my end-all be-all recommendation, is a little food for thought. For everybody who criticized this game, unfairly, might I add, think about what we had before this. The only Iron Man and Captain America games we really had were the movie tie-in games that were releasing like left and right on the Wii and 360, and they were questionable. They were very questionable games. Now, we have a fully fledged Avengers game where every character has a unique, somewhat unique, playstyle, and people get to play characters who will almost never see the light of day when it comes to a game opportunity. How many people do you think would have actually bought a Black Widow game? And how many of them do you think would have regretted that purchase? Thoughts like these are what make me understand what type of game this is. It is the only way that we would ever get a good movie tie-in game of a franchise that's as big as this is. Sure, there were plenty of games that existed back then that were Marvel superhero games that were good. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is one of them. Marvel Rise of the Imperfects. Marvel vs. Capcom. The Spider-Man games. Incredible Hulk, Total Destruction, or whatever it was. Maximum Destruction? I think. All these games were good, if not fan favorites. But the moment that the movie tie-in games happened, it's like they lost their souls. It became about selling tickets to see that next movie rather than selling an actually good game. And this is a good middle ground. So if anything, I feel like this game has potential, but its current state is very sad. So keep that in mind when you think about buying it. Also keep in mind that the PlayStation 4 version of the game sucks. Spider-Man is only on that version. Sony they can't keep getting away with it, man. They can't keep getting away with it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. I kind of want to do more of this stuff, but this is the new format of Lazy Review. It's a lot less spectacular. It's called Lazy Review for a reason. And I was putting way too much effort in this. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, press the like button. If you disliked it, press the dislike button. If you have your own opinion on the game right now, or have something to share about the game that I didn't cover, you can comment down below. And finally, if you like the content on the channel, hit subscribe. I have a very sporadic upload schedule though, so you might want to tap that bell notification to get notified whenever I upload. So, who knows when that'll be, but I'll see you there when it happens. So until next time, remember to stay cool.